Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Hero Show. Nick here with you as always, and in today's episode, I will be covering the review of the newest episode of Marvel's What If, entitled The World Lost Its Mightiest Heroes. If you're new to the channel here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for free. Help support our community here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you like the video at the end. And if you want to turn on the bell for future notifications, go ahead and hit that too. There will be spoilers in this episode, and I'll give a little non-spoiler review before I really dive into the spoilers here for those of you that have not watched this episode yet. So all in all, I do think that this episode was pretty good. It might just be like a one-off and not tied to anything else. I think it's worth watching. I don't know if it's better than the one from last week with T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman, but definitely hangs in there with the first episode that is focused on Captain Carter. So now it's time to get into spoilers. So again, if you haven't seen this episode yet, go ahead and watch that. Hop back on here and see what I have to say about it. So this episode consists of most of the original cast members. There's a few people that obviously didn't return for this. With Thor, so we didn't know Hemsworth, no RDJ, no ScarJo, and no Brie Larson. But everyone else has showed up, which is great to see. Jeffrey Wright, Sam Jackson, Michael Douglas, Clark Gregg, Frank Grillo, Jeremy Renner, Mark Ruffalo, Tom Hiddleston, Jamie Alexander. So pretty cool to hear all those people return and do their voices. Just kind of helps make things authentic from the MCU standpoint. So but it's the interesting point about this episode too is that it takes place within 5 days, and every day something bad happens. We've got all heroes that are dying, right? We're led to believe that Natasha kills Tony Stark, that Barton is thought to kill Thor, but then Barton dies, and Natasha she goes to find Bruce and potentially help him, but then Bruce dies, and again Natasha's the one that's still alive, but then at one point she gets killed off by someone who appears to be invisible or cloaked, and I wondered who it might have been at that point. But it's all about the scope and perspective of things, right, as to who it is. And Fury's trying to figure it out. And I think the interesting point where I kind of thought a little bit more about who it might be was when Natasha asks for Coulson's password on the Avengers initiative list. And I wrote down who was on that list. So this is potentially an Easter egg as to who the people are. Maria Hill, we all know who Maria Hill is. She's alive. Alexander Pierce from Captain America Winter Soldier. Even though he was with Hydra, at this point he's still alive within S.H.I.E.L.D. But the person who is deceased is Janet Van Dyne. If that doesn't ring a bell, she was the original Wasp, mother to Hope Pym and wife to Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man, before Scott Lang took over. And at this point in time, Scott Lang is in jail or trying to do some shady stuff. But nonetheless, when Tasha's getting beat to death, she says it's all about hope. And not Hope itself, but Hope Pym. Hope Van Dyne. My mistake. So Fury kind of puts the pieces together. Fury goes to a graveyard that takes place in California, and he confronts the killer. And the killer happens to be Hank Pym, and he's not in the Ant-Man suit that we know. No, he's actually in a Yellow Jacket suit from the first Ant-Man movie that we see in the MCU. So another sort of Easter egg there. And my thought was maybe this is just his suit in this universe and not the Ant-Man suit, or maybe he's just rolling with the prototype. Who knows? But yeah, I didn't really think that Ant-Man, or rather Hank Pym, would be the killer here, and what his motive was. But we see what his motive was, and that was that S.H.I.E.L.D. or Nick Fury was responsible for his daughter's death. Even though Fury says how she died and why she died, and that it was Hope's decision. She wanted to be an agent. She fought for what she believed in. And Hank wasn't really seeing it clearly. And even Hank's wife, Janet, she was an agent. She was on the list of people to potentially be a part of the Avengers. And the one thing I thought about that is if she was killed somehow with her involvement in Shield, or was that because she disappeared, like we hear and we know about from the MCU movies, where she goes into the quantum realm? Not really known, but she's dead regardless, or listed as deceased on the Avengers Initiative. That fight scene between Nick Fury and Hank Pym was amusing because as soon as Hank Pym starts throwing fists at Fury, Fury is dodging and blocking them, and I'm like, that's not Nick Fury. He can't do those moves, especially after seeing some people who can fight, like Natasha Romanoff, and she just gets her butt whooped. And then once Fury starts to multiply, it's like, yes, the god of mischief, the trickster, Loki. Then he appears as himself. The real Fury comes out, and Hank Pym says, just do right by Hope, and then gets taken away by the Asgardians. Couple interesting points that I liked as well. There's a CrossFit joke around the time when they're looking at Thor trying to pick up the hammer. I'm not a big fan of CrossFit, but it takes a bodybuilder to lift a hammer, right? Hey. The password from Coulson, we all know Coulson's a huge Steve Rogers fan, and his password was hashtag Steve, I love Steve 0704, which the 0704 symbolizes the birth date of America, which is July 4th, Independence Day. So meaning for Captain America or Steve Rogers, right? So you see the resemblance there. I also thought it was really cool how in the landscape shots, both with the desert as Coulson's driving the truck across, and we see the Watcher in the background in the sky watching, and same thing at night in the graveyard scene in California. He's just in the night sky watching, which I thought was really cool. A very ominous feeling, but just shows that he's there sort of watching and just, again, telling us these stories but not being allowed to interfere, right? So, or not wanting to either. Loki announces his plan to rule Midgard. It's what he always wanted. He said it in the Avengers. He said it in Loki's show, and now in this episode he finally gets to do that, or seemingly say that he's going to do that, which doesn't sound good for people here on Earth. And the very end, when Fury finds the frozen Captain America shield and says, "Get ready to fight, Captain," but as the camera, or rather the shot, turns around, we see it's Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, there, and she's fixing her glove, which I thought was pretty interesting. So we know that Fury has hit his beeper, as we see prior to him making a deal with Loki, and Coulson makes another 90s beeper joke. Fury doesn't press the button for the beeper and just throws it back in his glove department. So I'm interested to see what the shield was meant for. Was it meant for Captain Marvel, even though she doesn't really need it, or is it meant for Captain America, Steve Rogers? Is he also frozen, yet to be thawed? Or again, I don't know if this episode ties in with the first one, and Captain Carter needs a new shield or what. But at the same time, it'll be interesting to see if this episode ties into anything else. I don't think it does. It just feels like a one-off to me, but it still was pretty interesting overall. I'd say as far as the originality goes, from having all the heroes get killed off, and us led to believe it was someone that we didn't know or didn't suspect, maybe only turning out to be someone who is supposed to have close ties with the heroes, with the Avengers. and just kind of losing it over the death of his daughter was kind of cool in some cases, and again interesting in a good way, not in a bad way. Overall, I would probably give this episode like a solid 8. It was entertaining. I liked the mystery behind it. I liked the involvement of a lot of heroes. And it really took place and really hit home on a lot of the intro movies with the Incredible Hulk, with Thor, and Iron Man 2. And kind of just tying them all together, right? So I thought that was pretty interesting and how they did that, and I think they did a pretty good job overall, including all these different timelines with the movies into this episode. So again, a solid 8, I think. I don't think it was better than the previous week's episode with T'Challa as Star-Lord with Chadwick Boseman, but I'd say as good as the first episode with Captain Carter. So what did you guys think? Do you guys think this episode is better than last week or just as good as the first episode? Do you think this is just a one-off episode and doesn't have anything tied into any other episode of What If this season? Do you think the shield was meant for Steve Rogers yet to be unfrozen, or is it meant to be held by Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel? Drop a comment in the section below. Let us know what you think about that. Again, feel free to give us a like, hit the notification bell for future videos, hit that subscribe button, and help support the channel. We really appreciate it. And until next time, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.